I'm Ari Gronich, and this is Create a New Tomorrow podcast. So, my name is Ari Gronich. I'm known as the Performance Therapist, and I'm talking today with a good friend of mine, Glenn Ackerman. He and I have been business associates and friends for probably close to 20 years, 15, 20 years. And from my old life in Los Angeles, and we've done business together. We have broken bread together. And Glenn is a guru in the personal development arena. He's an NLP trainer and energy worker. He's got a lot of credentials behind his back. We've done some pretty interesting business together, as well as just been friends. And so I'm going to let Glenn kind of give you his background. And we're going to be talking today about energy healing and this new methodology that Glenn has created, and how it might be able to support you and your family during this whole pandemic and crisis we're having. So let me give it off to Glenn and let him kind of give you his full background.
Well, thanks, Ari. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, I appreciate you setting this up here. Just to give you a little background, I've been in the personal development field now over 20 years now, maybe even close to 25. And I started, just out of high school because I had stuff inside me that I wanted to change. And I came from a very tumultuous household where there was a lot of love, but there was also a lot of tension and anxiety and stress. And I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I thought, well, once I leave there, I can start living my own life. But even though, I thought that I left that anxiety and the stress and the upset, at the house, at my parents' house, that anxiety, stress, and worry didn't leave me. And as I went out to make my way in life and went to college and got into business, I recognized that there was a part inside me that was, what's the word for it? Dysfunctional. In other words, I would be able to, operate and show up as someone who is strong and capable and a leader in many fields. But inside, I felt a lot of anxiety, felt a lot of self-doubt. I was dealing with a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of what I call negative self-attack that was creating turbulence internally inside of me. And I wanted to get this thing out because it seemed in many times in my life in areas that I would take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And as I observed myself over the years, I realized there's some process or there's some force or there's something going on beyond what I can deal with or that I know how to deal with that's keeping me from having the life that I know I cannot, that it's my potential to have. So I went and threw myself into the self-development, personal development worlds, read, hundreds of books on how to change, took courses, seminars, and throughout the years, even became proficient and certified in these fields. And with each field from you name it, from A to Z, from walking on fire to vision quests, to meditations, to the deepest scientific studies towards deep mysticism. I mean, you name it, I've tried it. What happened is every little part of that I would learn something and I would make a little bit of progress, but it never got me to be able to erase this stuff inside me. It helped me deal with the stress or the negative thinking or the bad memories in a new way, to think about it in a new way, to maneuver it in a new way, but it never erased it. So, I was coming up on kind of exasperated that I had, tried everything and grew enormously from the experiences. And then I was introduced to the field of energy, energy medicine, energy psychology, energy healing, energy spirituality. And through a series of events, I was able to meet and study with the top people in each of these fields, whether it was a medical or a spiritual or a scientific or a mystical branch of this. And as a result of that, each of those parts were kind of incomplete on their own. But together, when I was able to put it together, it was like putting pieces together of a jigsaw puzzle. And through what developed through me, what I was able to develop, and that was actually revealed to me or downloaded, so to speak, from another dimension, I began to see very clearly one major part that's been left out of the personal development field, or the quest to be able to heal ourselves. And I think, moving through the different fields, I believe every human being on this earth is in recovery from something or the other, from childhood or an addiction or abusive parent or a heartbreak or something. And what these are energies. These are hidden energies that we were never taught about. And these energies, I liken that to the iceberg analogy. It's 10% above the water that we can see, 90% below the water we can't see. And the Titanic wasn't sunk by the 10% it could see. It was sunk by the 90% that it couldn't see. So I realized that in my work, I have a saying, which is that which we can see, we can control. But that which we can't see controls us. So this was the beginning of developing what is known now as energy awareness training, which is the ability to recognize and see a hidden reality or a deeper reality of living, of life, that's in the invisible realm, that is responsible for the visible realm. So it's you have the thing that's physical, and so much of the physical that we see, we try to work it out in the 10% level, and sometimes we do. Many times we don't have the answers. But when you understand that everything is physical, is created from non-physical, that's where the answers lie. That's where the information lies. So whether you're trying to have a better life, a better relationship, get along with your spouse, whether you want to have better health, whether you want to make more money, whatever it is, every problem at its core is energetic. It was started by an energetic process. And if you don't have an answer to it, at least in the 10% realm, then the answer to it or the solution to it is in the energetic realm. So this is a whole new way, a whole new paradigm of being able to see the world, to navigate the world, and to be able to change ourselves, which is the most important thing that energy awareness does, is the ability to be able to use the other 90% to be able to change yourself and move to the place where you're capable of that level of living, of achievement, or maybe just well-being, to be able to feel good in your body. And thank God I was able to do that. And through this, I was able to take all that stuff that I've been battling and fighting for 20 years and eliminate it, because it was an energy. And when you learn the fundamentals, how to deal with energy, you recognize these things are things we've been dealing with our whole lives, can be, and that we haven't had an answer to it, can be solved if you deal with it and tackle it from an energetic perspective. So that's a little bit of the background of where I've come to today.
Okay, so I don't know how many people watching this can get behind the fact that they've done a lot of work and it hasn't been exactly what they thought it was going to be. Like, it's not been the cure all, it's not been the thing, it's been steps and little steps and little steps. And so I think a lot of people can understand the frustration that you had felt as you were going through all these processes. I know that I had, I started doing EST when I was 8 years old, landmark, LifeSpring, before I was a teen. And I started in this profession by the time I was 17. I became a master herbalist and aromatherapist. And at 18, started going to school for massage and healing. So I kind of, we parallel a little bit of that background, and I know what it's like to, feel like you're doing so much work and you're only getting so much progress at a time. And so, what I'd like to hear from you is how do you accelerate that progress based on rather than doing, because we do a lot, right? But rather than doing, being aware of what is. So, as you're talking, what I can tell is what people are aware of typically is the 10% at the top of the iceberg. They're not aware of the 90% below it. So how can you become more aware of what you're not aware of so that you can then, clear and break that glacier up, that iceberg up, and have it dissolve quicker, faster, and with less damage?
Well, Ari, that's a great question. And so let me take a stab at it. So when people come to me, usually they've tried a lot of different things, and they've usually got an issue that they're dealing with, and they haven't found a solution. Whether it's been here, been there, been this, and it's interesting that part of my students, I have medical doctors who are students of mine, psychologists who are students of mine who want to learn energy awareness training. And the question I always ask them, I say, you're a medical doctor, you're a psychologist, and you're coming to me with a problem. Did you try, solving it before? And they're all like, yeah, I tried everything I could, that I had access to in the medical field and the psychological field, and I couldn't fix it. So I hear that you get results. So that's why, somebody I knew worked with you. So that's why I'm contacting you. Well, here's the thing. So it comes down to this. When we were in high school, our science professor said everything is energy. I remember it so well. Everything that we're dealing with in this world is energy. And my biology class was right after lunch, so I was always half asleep when he was teaching all about biology. And I'm thinking, oh, that's great. Everything is energy. What does that have to do with me? And taking out Mary Lou to the dance Friday night, or making the football team. Can't see that. Well, what's interesting is that one of the greatest scientists of the last century, Nikola Tesla, said that if you want to understand the mysteries and the secrets of life, then you want to start looking at things in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, that really rung my bell, because I recognize that in life, we are taught a linear process. We are taught, when we grow up, we're taught, well, there's certain things that you do if you're going to be successful and you're going to be happy in this world. You use logic. There's a linear process. You grow up, you go to school, go to high school, college, get a job, get married, have kids. There's a linear progression that we're supposed to be on. And we follow that linear progression using logic. We go to school to figure things out and to learn, and using our five senses. So that works for a large part of life, but it doesn't work for another part of life where there's things that happen that aren't logical. There are things that happen that don't make sense. And it's a mystery, especially in relationships. You meet someone and you think, hey, they look good, they sound good, we're getting along. Okay, I think I'm going to get into this thing, right? So you get into it using all of the senses and the logic, and it's good for a while, and then over time something happens, and then it becomes the exact opposite of what you got into it for. And then it's like a nightmare. You're like, oh my gosh, and then it ends, and it hits the rocks, and there's heartbreak, and That's not what you signed up for. You didn't sign up for heartbreak and misery, but that's what you ended up with. Why is that? That's the big question that I answered. And Tesla started the process that kind of handed me the ball up, which he said that if you want to understand the mysteries of life, in other words, the mysteries of things that don't make sense or things that are not logical, which is half of life, then look at them in terms of energy as an energy whole with a frequency and a vibration. So what he's saying is that there's a channel, there's a frequency, there's a signature for these things of mystery. Well, developed that to recognize, well, if everything's energy, like you, like me, like the table, like the computer, like the sky, like jobs, like the COVID virus. I mean, if that's all energy, then let's develop these codes into something that can really educate us and do something for us so that we can have better lives. So in my model, if it's all energy, take people, for example. In my model, adding to what Tesla said, that all energy has a power. It has a purpose. It has an intelligence. It has a direction, and it gives off energy. Now, and that's called becoming energetically aware or being able to read energies. Why is it important to be able to read energies? Because energies never lie. People lie. Situations maybe not lie, but a lot of times aren't what they seem to be. But energy fundamentally always moves in a certain direction. So if you can read what that direction is, that's going to give you enormous advantage to protect yourself against negativity and to be able to move forward, to be able to be more, to do more, to have more. So the illustration there, I'll give you one more, is that in energetic awareness, again, traditionally, we live in this world, which we call the three-dimensional world. And in these dimensions, it's what you can see, it's what I can see, and kind of like that's what we call reality. Now, science says that there are 10, maybe 12 or more dimensions of reality. Well, if that's the case, then we're only seeing about maybe 20 to 30% of what's going on. And we're missing out the majority of what's happening around us. So why that's important is that's why we make mistakes. And don't we spend most of our time every day trying to make the decisions of what's good for us? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I eat this food? Is it good for me? Is it not good for me? Should I be in this relationship? Should I not be in it? Should I use this exercise program? Should I move to this place? Now, your big decision, should I go out? Should I go to the market or not? Or should I go outside without a mask? I mean, these are decisions that we're making. Now, one of the most advantages of my work is the ability to grasp that other 60 to 70% of reality. And so people say, you're saying there's other realities around that we don't know about, that we can access? And I'm all, yeah. Let's go back to the relationship example. You made a decision. I'm talking about relationships that have hit the rocks, and we've all had them, men and women. So at the beginning, as I mentioned, you used that 20 or 30% plus your five senses, plus your logic to make a decision of whether this is something that would be good for you or not good for you. And in spite of using, all of the tools that you had, your logic and the percentages of awareness and your five senses, you made the wrong decision. So, and that wasn't clear until the ending came. And then when the ending comes and the results are, not what you wanted and bringing you into a place that you regret, what do? We say, oh, if only I had known then what I know now, I never would have done that. I never would have got involved in that relationship. I never would have made that investment. Okay. And then you say to yourself, I knew it. I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have gotten involved in this thing. I knew. Oh. And I say, you knew it? Why didn't you listen to yourself? I don't know. Okay. Or I love this one. There was a voice inside me that said, don't do this. This isn't for me. This is not going to work out right. And I didn't listen. And I go, oh, well, why didn't you listen? I don't know. I didn't listen. So what that shows us is that there was information, there was awareness at the time that you made that decision that was trying to communicate to you, or that at least was available, that you didn't use. So energy awareness training is about accessing all of the information and being able to read the energies, and to be able to have this incredible tool to be able to see the totality of what you're about to do before you do it, not after. Everybody's a wise man after, but what really comes in hand is before you do that. And there are roadmaps, and which I'd be happy to go into here if you want me to, that can tell us there are signs here when you become energetically aware that can direct us to seeing a deeper reality of how everything works, so that we can use it to our benefit. So, and these benefits, are having a better life. Two things, moving up to a better life, and being able to get rid of the baggage, the issues, and the negativity that's been keeping us down.
So I'm gonna break that up a little bit and just ask you. So
sure.
False negatives and false positives. So how do you know if what you're feeling as far as the energetic red flags is your trauma, or is it real? And so you're getting false negatives or false positives. And if everything happens for a reason, as some people have, would say, everything happens for a reason, then does it behoove you to bypass the lesson that you may get from having the experience, or is it good to just be born with the silver spoon, enjoy a pleasant, positive life for your entire life, and not ever have to worry about a lesson? So one of the things that I've always said is, if I was born with a silver spoon in my hand, it wouldn't have bothered me. I would have enjoyed and appreciated a good life. I've fortunately and unfortunately had a plethora of experiences, both positive and negative. And my question is, if I were to have reacted to what I thought was an energetic pull against the thing I was doing, should I have listened to the false positive or the false negative?
We're going down the rabbit hole. All right, so let's get to that. There's about 7 questions in here. So let me start. What was the first one?
Well, let's just pull it back to false negatives, false positives. If you feel something and that voice inside your head says no, right? Is that your trauma, or is it a real thing? And how do you know, and which do you listen to?
Beautiful. Let's start there. So in describing energy awareness training, there are certain principles which this is founded upon that are clear and obvious, but we never think about them. One of them is that everything's energy. Number 2, in this planet, we're living under the law of duality or polarity. Okay, which means, if I'm dealing with light, I got to deal with darkness. If I'm dealing with the male, I'm going to be dealing with female. If the tide goes in, the tide goes out, left, right, good, bad, night and day. So everything that we're dealing with, everything which is energy, no matter what it is, whether it's a relationship, a business, a health challenge, a sports, whatever it is, all of it's an energetic process. And these energetic processes have a duality or a polarity to them. You know, in sports, winning, losing, being in shape, being not in shape, champion, loser, all of these things. So if everything's energy, then at least in this world, then energy is a duality too. It has a polarity, which is has a high vibration, which is what Tesla said, energy, vibration. So let's break that down. Energy, vibration, and frequency. So there's what I call a high vibration energy and a low vibration energy. And these are codes for the energetic experience we have. The high vibration energy is happiness, joy, peace, health, abundance, full connection, inner peace, all of the things that we want, all of the things that make us have a good life. And it shows up as kindness, as compassion, as oneness, as gratitude, etc. So that's a little bit of the code of how the high vibration energy works. There's a lot more than that, but let's just have that be our example. Well, if there's a high vibration energy, then there's going to be a low vibration energy too. And that low vibration energy is going to be the polar opposite of the high vibration. It's going to, that's going to be vibrating anxiety, stress, worry, doubt, fear, darkness, heaviness, stuckness, lack, which is all the stuff that we don't want. Now, even though there's lots of frequencies and energies in this planet, they can all come under two headings. It's either going to be a high frequency or a high vibrational energy, or a low vibration or a low frequency energy. Now, these energies are actively influencing us, every human being, every single day. They are active externally out into the world, and they are active internally within us. So we have a force that wants peace, that wants unity, that wants abundance and blessings for people operating. Well, there's also a frequency that's operating that wants chaos, that wants destruction, that wants negativity operating out in the field. And these energies, again, they influence the world that we live in and also our own internal structures. And they contact us through our thoughts, through our feelings, through our emotions internally. So if you remember, one of the most important things in energy awareness training is to be able to be aware of what energy field am I in or am I about to go in, because that's key information. Why? Because I know that high vibration energy will attract more high vibrational energy. And I know that low vibration energy will attract more low vibration energy. So as an example, you're around one of your favorite people. You love being around them. Why? They're happy, they're joyful, they uplift you, they inspire you. Whether it's a friend or a musician or an influencer type or a politician or somebody that, wow, they lift you up. That's a high vibration energy. Now, when you're around somebody who's a whiner, who's complaining, who's down all the time, it doesn't take long before you start feeling that energy and it starts to pull you down. So part of being energetically aware is being able to recognize the frequencies that we're in or that are coming at us, because all of us as human beings are energetic sending and receiving vehicles. We're sending out energy and we're receiving the energy. What energies are we sending out? Whatever we're thinking, whatever we're feeling, whatever way we're motivated, and whatever we're behaving. That's our energy, and that's what we send out into the world. And what do we get back? Usually a similar version of what we put out. I don't know if you remember the phrase, what you put out comes back to you 200%. So to answer to your question, at least the one I remember, is that when you recognize what the frequencies are, you know that high vibration energy is about having you feel good, having you be healthy, having you have long-term fulfillment. Low vibration energy may give you an ounce of pleasure to suck you into a relationship or to a drug or to an addiction. That'll give you an ounce of pleasure followed by a pound of pain, and ultimately want to lead you into the direction of suffering. So these energies are active. So, for example, energy awareness. Let's take the COVID-19. Remember, I said using the Ackerman formula. All energy is a power, a purpose. It has an intelligence and a direction. It gives you information. So let's look at this COVID thing. Okay, if we were able to see this at the beginning, we would have saved a lot of lives. Does it have a power? You bet it has a power. It has a power to destabilize the world. Okay, now you know what you're dealing with. Does it have a purpose? Yes, it has a purpose. It has a purpose to hurt people, make them sick, and to take lives. Okay, does it have an intelligence? You bet it does. It knows how to mutate and it knows how to spread itself without any help. Whoa, does it have a direction that it takes people to? You better believe it. It wants to take people down and wants to take you out. So that's the information you get. Now, if it was 4 months ago and you had a bottle and this virus is in that bottle and you were able to recognize that energy, you would know, hey, this isn't something to fool around with. This is something to be very careful with, and not to take lightly. But whoever didn't take it, whoever thought, oh, it's no big deal, like this, that was a major energetic mistake that guy made. And as a result, if you're not energetically tuned, it can and it has in our lives brought us a lot of chaos and suffering. So in my work, we do two things. My work is geared to eliminate suffering. That's what energy awareness training, that's the first goal. By becoming energetically aware, we can eliminate the traps, the mental traps, the emotional traps that happen in all areas of life, in relationships, in business, in finance, in health. We can eliminate the traps and move your energy towards a consistent, high vibrational energy of operating so that you're able to stay in a happy, proactive place no matter what happens, no matter what you're dealing with in this world. And I can explain how that works maybe later on that, but that's possible. You're saying, is it possible to be consistently happy in this world? And the answer is only if you're energetically aware. Because if your intelligence or consciousness is limited to a three-dimensional world, there's no lasting happiness in this world. Okay, that's a big one. No lasting. Why? Because if your happiness is based upon anything in this physical or external world, the characteristics of everything in this world is there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So whatever you're enjoying that makes you happy in this world, at some point, it's going to end, or at the very least, it's going to shift. There's a principle I teach called energy cycles, which is no matter where you are in this moment in time, eventually it's going to shift. And it's going to move from one polarity to the other polarity, right? Without you having to do a thing. Last year at this time, economy was great. Everybody was walking around. It was springtime and nobody had a care in the world. And if I had told you, hey, enjoy it because a year from now, you're going to be quarantined. You're not going to be able to go out. You're not going to be able to work. You go, get out of here, man. But I knew that it was going to change. I didn't know it was going to be this extreme, but I knew that there was going to be a major energy shift taking place in 2020, major. So I prepared for it. And I taught my students, when I teach them the law of energy cycles, you need to prepare. So if you're aware of how the energies work, then you're prepared so that when they go the other way, the damage is minimal or it doesn't affect you at all. Does that make sense, Ari?
It sounds like building an energetic immunity, which I like talking about immune boosting and how we could boost our immune systems so that things like COVID or any other disease, if you were to get them, they wouldn't play a big symptomatic role because you have a strong immune system. So it sounds to me like you're talking about an energetic immune system.
Yes.
And
that's exactly it.
boosting that.
And you really have to have an energetic immune system before you have a physical immune system. You know, they both in hand. In that law of duality, you know, it also covers, you know, we have a physical body that we need to maintain, and we have an energetic body. We have a physical body we can see. We have an energetic body that we can't see, and both have to be maintained. So if you don't clean your physical body for a couple of days, what's going to happen? It's going to get dirty. You're going to start having problems. You know, if you don't clean it for a week, you know, then everybody else around you is going to have problems. Well, it's the same thing with your energy body. We just like we accumulate sweat and dust and dirt in our physical bodies walking around, especially on hot days like this. It's the same with your energy body. Every day you accumulate, you're moving into a world where you have to deal with low vibration energy. You have to deal with stress. I mean, look at the things that we do. You know, going to a job, having a job is stressful, right? Now, not having a job is stressful, right? You know, driving in the freeway, you know, the morning commute is stressful. Now, not having a commute is stressful. So no matter what we do, paying bills, not paying bills, you know, keeping an eye on your kids or having your kids with you 24/7 now, whatever it is, the process of life moves. We have to move through a low vibration energy of stress, of worry, of uncertainty. That's the duality. So when people say, "Oh, it sounds kind of doom and gloom," I say that's the way it works. We have a beautiful world, and we have lots of love, and we have beauty and kindness and joy in this world. But we also have to fend off a lot of attacks since we're kids and growing up with I mean, you name it, with sickness or finances or relationships or the whole thing. So it's understanding that you're already dealing with energy. Whether you know it or not, you're already in the energetic battles. The message I'm giving is know what you're doing. Be aware of how these energies work so you can win the battle and be on top of it instead of it being on top of you.
So give us like maybe one or two of your techniques for increasing your energetic immunity.
Okay. Well, one of the first things that I do when I have a new student, whether I'm teaching or coaching or giving a company presentation, is I alert people to the fact that you're an energetic being. And that what does that mean? It means that your energy is housed in a physical body. So you have an energy field that was never born, that will never die, that's infinite, unlimited, eternal. That's an energy field. That's a scientific fact. You can measure energy. It just is. That energy is living inside a physical body. So you have kind of like a duality here. You've got an immortal, internal, unlimited energy beyond time and space that's living in a container that's just the opposite, that's physical in nature, that has a beginning, middle, and ending, and that has limitations. So when you become aware of that, that's an eye opener. And then the next thing with that is I say, now, most people who come to me, they have some sort of anxiety, some sort of worry or fear or doubts or some kind of low vibration energy. So when I say, are you dealing with anxiety or stress? And go, yeah. I said, how does that show up for you? Oh, I got these thoughts of, I'm not good enough, or something bad's going to happen, or I had a nightmare. Great. So thoughts. Step number one is recognizing you are not your thoughts, that you have thoughts, but they are not you. So what does that mean? In other words, so when you have a thought, that thinking process can be hacked into by these energies, especially the low vibration energies. See, our natural state, Ari, is to be happy, joyous, free, abundant. That's our natural state. When you're feeling great and on top of the world, you never sit there and go, gee, why am I so happy? How did I get to this place? What do I do about this? Right? It just what it is. But when things aren't going good, when you're suffering, you're in adversity, or your life's upside down, you're going, oh, geez, how did this happen? So I want you to be aware that you get visited every day from these energies, especially the low vibration energy. The low vibration energy every day for every human being on this world. Yeah, low vibration energy with your daily delivery. Go away. Oh, okay. No, it doesn't go away. So, you wake up in the morning and all of a sudden you get this thought field of, oh my gosh, another day. How am I going to pay this bill? What am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about that? That's not you. So the first thing is the wake up call. You have thoughts. You are not your thoughts. When I was growing up, in school, maybe you had that, I got the kids don't like you. You're not good enough for the baseball team. Oh, Mary Lou wouldn't want to go out with you. She only likes, the head jocks. So you got this thought process that's beating you up inside you. And we don't recognize that's not us. That is another energy field. So the beginning processes of energy awareness training is to be able to separate your consciousness from the thought attacks and the emotional attacks that try to pull us down. So when somebody's feeling down or in a low vibration energy, it's because that energy is trying to corrupt your thinking. So for example, I'm sitting here in California. It's a beautiful day outside, springtime. And I'm sitting here and I could go, wow, sunshine and the birds are singing and I'm in a high vibrational energy. Well, the low vibration energies, its job is to keep me out of high vibration. And it does so by attacking my thoughts, my feelings, and my emotions. Now, it doesn't tell me it's going to do that. It works covertly. This is what I mean by the deeper hidden realities of how they affect us. So I'm sitting here, going, what a great day. And the thought comes, the COVID-19. Somebody on my block could have it. I need to go to the store today. What if somebody sneezes? What if I get it? And what if I can't work? And what if I can't pay the rent? And what if I can't? And all of a sudden, what's happened? From a high vibrational energy, that I was in, now this other force, this motivation, has pulled me out of my joy and got me to go to a place of worry, of fear, of doubt. Oh no, like this. And now my day's ruined. Now I'm under the power of this energy. So the first step is recognizing, and I teach people the first question, whose thoughts are these? What energy is this? Remember, in energy awareness training, that your greatest skill that will pay dividends your whole life is being able to recognize what energy field are you in right now or about to be in, and being able to make a shift there. So this is elementary, but it's so important. The shift of, wait a minute, okay, I got this, I got these thoughts. So using my example, I go, yeah, I got the COVID virus. I got to go to the store. I go, wait a second, whose thoughts are these? Hold on. Okay, what am I feeling now? Anxiety, worry, stress, fear. Is that what I want to feel? That's not what I want to feel. That's not who I am. That's not who I decided to be this morning when I woke up. So I have a measurement to know that I'm committed to being in high vibrational energy, happy, joyous, free, no matter what comes my way. So that's the second teaching. Your happiness and your well-being is a decision that you make every day. It's not dependent upon the weather or the virus or what anybody else does. And that's how you take back your power. Because the low vibration want to infiltrate your thoughts and go, you can't be happy today because of the COVID. Or you can't be happy today because, the stores are closed. And the stores are closed and there is a COVID thing. And yeah, I can't go out to eat, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to be unhappy. But the low vibration wants to say, well, here's a reason why you shouldn't be. Here's a reason. Here's a reason. Here's a reason. That's how the low vibration infiltrates most of humanity. But when you're energetically aware, you can say, yeah, even though the stores are closed, even though we're still dealing with the COVID, even though I can't go out to dinner tonight, I can still order takeout. I can be happy, joyful, in my power right here, right now. Because it's a must. What I drill people in is, you must know what energy you're in because whatever energy field you're in, you're going to attract more of it. So if I allow myself to be in doom and gloom and why and all that, you know what? Guess what's coming my way? Because energy is always expanding and always attracting its same vibration. So I got more, God forbid, more suffering coming my way. If I don't snap out of that quick, and I have exercises, and tools to be able to do that, lickety split, I'm going to be going down that road. I call it the law of direction. The law of direction, which simply means every thought, every emotion, every action that we take in this world is going to create a direction. It's going to take us into high vibration energy, more happiness, joy, peace, or it's going to take us into low vibration, more anxiety, worry, and stress. And that starts with your thoughts that create your feelings, that expand into your emotions, that move in, that create motivational directions of which way you're going to go, and that ultimately affect your behaviors. So those are about 3 things here that I teach beginning students of energy awareness to become energetically aware and utilize those things.
Well, thank you so much for that. I'm a big studier of neuroscience and chemistry, especially brain chemistry. And it's funny to me because, we have these optic nerves that cross over in our skull, send electrical energetic signals to our brain, which then send electrical energetic signals to a processing center that then tell us what reality it is that we're looking at, right? So as you're talking, I'm listening to, everything is energy. That's kind of like a common thing that we know about. Everything is energy at the smallest level. The spin rate of pure matter is nothing. And so everything is the movement of energy. And when you're talking about reality being what reality is and perception being what perception is, I look back at what is the neuroscience behind it. And every neuroscientist I've ever talked to, or doctor of neuroscience, they basically tell me the same thing, which is we're translating images that we see into something that we have no idea of what we are seeing, and if our perception is the same as anybody else's perception. Nor do we know if what we're seeing is any kind of reality, because what we see is only so big in percentage to what is actually there in front of us. So that's another thing that you were talking about. And so because I enjoy that kind of conversation and that kind of thinking, non-linear circular thinking, right? So what is, in your opinion or your study, what is the reality that we'd like to see, and how do we shift the neurochemistry so that what we see is what we want to see and perceive versus what we're getting, which is in many cases people want to see good, but they see bad in everything. They want to see positive, but they see negative, right? And so give me kind of your...
Artie, these are great questions. I love them. First of all, I have to tell you, that process that you just mentioned about, the light goes into your eye and goes in, sends a message to your brain. And then based upon what you see, we make decisions. That process lies to you. It lies to you. Why? How can I say that? Because you and me and all of us have used that same process to make decisions about what's good for our lives. And we've used these processes, again, our 5 senses, certainly our eyes, our brain, and our logic, to be able to ascertain if something's good for us or not good for us. And we've made decisions that were just flat out wrong and the opposite of what we wanted to. So somewhere, there's a potential dysfunction in that. And that's the point I'm making about energetic awareness. So let me give you an example here. Let me tell you a story here that I think will answer your question. So what I do when I'm teaching energy awareness to students is I give them a very solid grounding on what high vibration energy is and what low vibration energy is. And then once you have that grounding of understanding how the energies work, and especially in their subtleties and their nuance, then you can apply them to any situation that comes your way, no matter what it looks like. Now, the energetic laws are this: high vibration energy is about long-term fulfillment. You may have to give up some short-term pleasure, for long-term fulfillment. Low vibration energy is about having you suffer, but it recognizes not everybody's going to want to volunteer for the suffering, so it has to throw you a morsel of pleasure. It has to give you an ounce of pleasure so it can suck you in to, the 99% of suffering. It's kind of like Las Vegas. If everybody lost their money in Las Vegas, right? Nobody would go to Las Vegas because everybody, hey, you just lose your money there, don't go there. So somebody's got to win. There's got to be, 1%, a hundredth of 1% of somebody who hits the jackpot, so that Vegas can go, see, come to Vegas and win a new car or win the jackpot. All right, here we go. So there was a politician, a guy who ran for president a couple of years, about 8 years ago. His name was John Edwards. Do you remember him? John is senator from South Carolina. This is all published news. I'm not revealing any secrets here, all public information. So he was running for president, and his wife battling cancer. He was presenting himself as a good family man, and he was trying to get the Democratic nomination for president. Well, his wife, he found himself in New York City, and his wife happened to be back home taking care of the kids. Now, John Edwards, a handsome guy. So a woman approached him at the hotel and said to him, I think you're hot, and I'd like to sleep with you, and I want to be with you. Now he looks at this girl, and she's pretty hot, and he's thinking to himself, you know what? My wife, we haven't had relationships in almost a year because she's battling cancer, and I probably shouldn't do this, but I think I could get away with it here. I think if I sneak her up to the room, I think we could do this, right? No, I think I could get away with it. Okay. So he goes, okay, meet me at the room, right? Okay. So he goes up, they have their counter, and it's good, really good. And these are how the energies work. So he got this pleasure. Now, what happens with intense pleasure that we get when you have a great experience, Ari? What do you want to do immediately? Almost again. What do you want to do? Repeat it. You want to repeat it. Okay. So initially he says, well, one little tryst isn't going to be a big deal. I'll just do it, and then she'll go on her way, and I'll, got my, my sex covered. But after they did, he goes, I'd like to see her again. So we saw her the next night, and he saw her the next night while he was in New York. And then as they were about to say goodbye, he said, I don't want to give this up. Why don't you join my campaign as my videographer? And she says, okay. So she joins the campaign, and now he's having this affair with this woman, on the campaign bus, and is and right under his wife's nose. Okay. And this continues for a while, and he gets away with it. He's going, yeah, man, I'm getting away. I got my cake and eat it too. Right on. So about 6 months later, 6 months is going, I got away with it. She says to him, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have I'm going to have the baby. I've been pregnant because you hadn't seen her in a while, but it was still going on. So she has the baby. And I was going, uh-oh, I got a love child. All right, I'll keep it under wraps. Okay. So remember, high vibration attracts more high, low vibration attracts more low, but it doesn't necessarily come immediately. It could come long-term. So she calls him up. He says, listen, I want you to come see the baby. Meet me in Beverly Hills at the Beverly Hilton. So he goes, okay. And meanwhile, he's trying to get the vice presidential nomination. He's still in the running. So we meet her at the hotel. And somehow, some way, the National Enquirer got a hold of it. So they had a photographer there, and when he went to the room to see his lover and the baby, they kept the window open. So the photographer is taking picture, taking picture, taking picture, taking picture. And as Edwards is leaving the hotel, the photographer says, "Hi, I'm from the National Enquirer. I see you got your love child and your mistress up there. Would you care to quote? Because we're going to run this story tomorrow." The guy's, "Oh, no," he's freaking out. So they run the story. It becomes national. National is a big scandal. So what does he do? He decides to lie about it. He decides to say, "Oh, that's not, yeah, I had an affair, but my wife forgave me, and that's not my child. It's my aide's child. It's my, it's my aide who runs my campaign. It's his child." Lies about it. So the campaign aide says, "Yeah, it's my child," and it goes away for a little bit until Edwards stops paying the campaign aide. Then the campaign aide goes out in the press and say, "I lied. It's not my child. It's John Edwards' child." So this thing just becomes a quagmire. And what's the end result? The end result is he's disgraced. He's probably thrown out of his political party. His wife wants to divorce him, but she's in ill health. He's disgraced, and the guy's name is Mud. Now, let's view this under energy awareness training. If you've been a student of mine, or if you've been one of my students, he would have said, "Hey, I got an opportunity to commit adultery and have a quick affair with a woman who's not my wife." And I would have said, "Oh, okay, well, let's use what you've learned in energy awareness training." So in order to do that, you'd have to lie, you'd have to deceive, you're following your lust, and if it got out, it would hurt people, right? Yeah. Okay. Is that high vibration or is it low vibration? Probably low vibration. Great. So what have you learned about low vibration? In other words, what you know now is you take that direction, you are going to suffer, brother, like you never suffered before. But see, the energies are covert and they don't announce themselves. The low vibration energy didn't come up to John Edwards and say, "Hey, I want to introduce you to this woman for you to have some fun with. And she's going to wreck your life. She's going to disgrace you. She's going to make you wish you were never born." But, would you still go for it? Would he have gone? And if you ask him, "Hey, was it worth it? Was that little piece of tail worth losing everything? Worth all the suffering you're going through?" What he would have said? "Not in a million years." Well, then why did you do it? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I shouldn't have done it. Why did I do it? I shouldn't have done it. And low vibration energy strikes again. So this is an analogy of how being energetically aware can save your marriage, can save your career, can save your health. I have, people who experiment with drugs and they want to experiment with them, to raise their consciousness level. And and they asked me about it. And I said, "Okay, well, do you know what's in the drugs?" "Not really." "Have the people have had adverse reactions to the drugs?" "Well, yeah." "Okay. Are you risking your health if you do this?" "Well, yeah." "Okay. So is that a high vibration energy decision or a low vibration energy decision?" So you get a sneak preview. I guess what I'm telling you, Arnie, is whatever you're going to do, whatever relationship you're going to get into, whatever car you're going to buy, whatever investment you're going to make, whatever house you're going to move into, it's all a field of information. And that information will tell you the right thing to do and alert you to the wrong thing to do if you can read the energies. If you can't, then you're going on 20% of the information and you're likely going to step in a trap, as so much of the time we do.
So I'm going to just to finish off, I'm going to take it back to our current pandemic situation. So I've been a big advocate against, or activist, I guess, against the media currently. and their campaign of fear. And so when you're looking at the campaign of fear that's been spread, whether accurate or not, um, what would be a good immune system boosting, whether energetic immune system or not, immune system boosting response to the fear that people are experiencing right now with regards to COVID?
That's another great question, Ari. You're hitting them out of the park today. So I want you to understand for everybody who's listening that there's two factors you're dealing with here. Remember, it gets back to what we started, the law of duality, the law of polarity. The two factors. There's the actual threat of the virus itself, and there's the thinking, the energy, the thoughts around it. Now, 90% of the world or more isn't going to get the virus, but 100% of the world has been infected by the energy, by the thinking of what you're talking about. So I don't think nobody needs any help to know what to do about it physically. I think we all know, mask up, keep your social distance, wash your hands, etc. But what you can do right now is not fall into the low vibration energy pandemic. That's the pandemic. The pandemic is fear, worry, stress, doubt. All you have to do is watch the news, any of the news channels for more than 20 minutes, and your immune system will literally drop. That can be measured by exposing yourself to death, sickness, disease, threats. What kind of energy is that? What have you guys learned? It's low vibration energy. What is low vibration energy going to give you more of? Low vibration energy. So what I'm teaching all my students to do is be aware of what's happening. If you got to watch the news, great. But at all times, be able to clean your energy. And I do that through a series of breathing, through some point manipulation. There are a lot of ways to do that. I'm sure you know some of them are you do it yourself. But I have a program that does that, so that every day, just like you take a shower, you got to clean off that dirt. You've got to clean off the mental low vibration energy that's trying to affect you, that's trying to keep you down. Now, that I want to alert you, that's on both sides. So you want to be aware of the energies that the authorities are saying, okay, hey, don't go outside. Is it true? I don't know. But I'm not going to be worried. I'm going to be careful, but I'm not going to be under the covers going, oh my gosh, I better not go outside. On the other hand, I'm not going to get sucked into these guys who are going, the virus is it's a hoax. Let's everybody go back to work and be normal. Forget about it. That's as dangerous as the other side. So high vibration energy is always in the middle. It's not attached to one side or the other. It wants the characteristics of safety, of health, and peace of mind. And you can only get that if you're cleaning and moving energy. So I was saying that says nothing changes until energy moves. So you want to get out of the thinking and be able to start moving energy, whether it's through exercise, through meditation, through breathing exercises, or any of the things that we teach.
Awesome. I wish we had more time to talk, because we could go on and on and on. One of the things that maybe next time, if we do this again, I'm going to ask you to do it near your piano, because you can demonstrate low and high vibration via the music that you play. It's one
Indeed.
of my favorite things about you is your playing of that particular instrument. I remember being at your house many years ago and listening to you play. So anyway, that's a great way to end. And if
Let's do it again. All right, I'll bring my piano.
Yeah, if there's anybody who has any questions for us, even if you're watching the replay and you ask some questions, we'll be glad to answer anything. But Glenn, how do people get a hold of you if they want to do more with you or learn more from you?
They can reach me through my email at energytitan@gmail.com. 2 words, energy, titan, Titan, @gmail.com. And as you can see, I'm on Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to. And I'm all about getting the word out to this. So you're going to be hearing a lot about energy awareness training in the future. I'm working on a book, and working on rolling this out because it's a mission. And what I do is a mission. I'm committed to ending emotional suffering in our lifetime. And that's absolutely possible if you have energetic tools. There's no need for people to suffer emotionally. Now, we can't avoid pain because pain's a necessary tool, unfortunately, in this world as part of the life process. But we don't have to suffer. And I know that if I knew this, I would have saved myself 10 to 15 years of some suffering. But, it happened for a reason for me to be able to develop this. So that's my gift to the world. And I long to be able to teach kids this so we can have a world of more peace, more kindness, and more high vibrational energy. And I think that will change the world. So I appreciate you having me on, Ari, and having this time with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to turn off our Facebook Live right now. And I just want to say, like I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat room. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about living your passionate life, this is my book, A New Tomorrow, Activating Your Vision for a Better World. And it's really about how to do it. It's like step-by-step kind of guide to how to create that life that you really want to live. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Like I said, any questions you might have, we'll feel free to answer them. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I appreciate all you do to create a new tomorrow for yourself and those around you. If you'd like to take this information further and are interested in joining a community of like-minded people who are all passionate about activating their vision for a better world, go to the website createanewtomorrow.com and find out how you can be part of making a bigger difference. I have a gift for you just for checking it out and look forward to seeing you take the leap and joining our private paid mastermind community. Until then, see you on the next episode.